The series starts with a woman in the streets. However, it doesn't seem that the woman belongs there as she isn't alone. She is with a newborn baby named Lu Shu, whom she sings a lullaby. The woman gives the baby to another person and leaves. The baby has a walnut-shaped pendant. Fast forward, we see the boy has become a man taking care of his little sister, Lu Xiaoyu, who wants to eat sweets at the fair. So you know they're gonna be hella expensive, especially for Lu Shu, who's not financially stable, that he caves in for that kawaii face. Then they go to enjoy a fire show. While making their way through the hordes, Lu Shu gets too close to comfort facing the flames, but instead of flinching back, his mind goes somewhere else and his necklace starts glowing. Yet nobody takes note as they are amazed by the fire show. Later, the duo goes backstage to see the man behind the show and asks him how it's done. However, inside, they come across some men in black taking the blondie against his will. Beyond scared straight, Lu Shu tells the fellas that they were just looking for the toilet when they got caught. One of the men tells them that they are a firefighting group and the fire show is not licensed, that's why they are here to bring the fire show guy for investigation. It's a silly excuse, Lu knows it and they know it, so not wanting to go through the hassle of dealing with him, the guy tells them the direction of the toilet, and everyone goes their way. Back at home, we learn that Lu Xiaoyu is not Lu Shu's biological sister. They were from the same orphanage. Now they live together as a sister and a brother. When Lu Shu goes to the store to buy some food, he gazes at the face of God Truck-Kun, sending him flying headfirst to the rock-solid ground. The walnut starts sparkling on his neck, lifting his body higher and higher. His body begins to somewhat transform as we see from his tissues, twisting, glowing, and changing. On the other side, the man behind the god is freaking out, believing he has killed the young man, so when he goes to check on him, Lu falls as if nothing was happening. But then our boy opens his eyes, wanting revenge, money as a form of compensation. Seeing this, the truck driver gets frightened, thinking it's his ghost and flees away while numbers keep ticking over his head. Thus, Lu Shu goes back to his original task, buying some noodles, but the task seems harder than usual since the shopkeeper is also frightened and numbers appear above his head. But the main man doesn't overthink it and gets back home to take a shower. After washing himself up, Lu looks for any wounds or signs of the accident but finds nothing. The only thing he notices is a sparkling sign on his palm, which he concludes it as being a sign of his awakening superpowers. After further theorizing and thinking, Lu realizes his power is derived from people's negative emotions. A digital circle system appears in front of the self-proclaimed Demon King, and like any growing healthy young adult, he dives into it head first without any care in the world. He starts pressing some buttons in what seems to be a wheel of fortune. Although he kept losing and dropping his points fast, Lu manages to secure a win and an apple appears from thin air. He bites it and instantly feels comfortable as well as energized, prompting him to play more and lose more points, until he wins a letter active by singing the kid's lullaby, which takes him on a journey through space and time to somewhere representing what seems like Lu's inner soul power map. After looking a bit into it, he goes back to reality and joins his little sister at the dinner table, only to leave again upon seeing a fire has occurred in their area. When he climbs to the rooftop to take a look, he finds the same men from the fair jumping from rooftop to rooftop like ninjas but with drip. They hear Lu Shu and approach him. "What are you doing here?" they ask. Lu Shu lies to them, saying he's picking up dried radishes. Although the man recognizes him from before and doesn't believe his excuse, they send him home after not picking up what they call fluctuations. When Lu Shu gets back to his little sister, a sudden bump is heard. A man is laying in front of their house. Turns out it's the fire show guy. While Lu Shu and his sister are discussing and lingering around what to do with the guy, numbers appear above his head. Lu realizes he is conscious and starts teasing him for some points. Even after the man wakes up, like the Demon King Lu is, he continues messing with the guy. Fed up, the fire guy loses his temper and grabs Lu Shu's hand to roast him just like how our boy did. But nothing happens, so the man swallows his pride, calls it a prank and leaves after Lu milks every last negative emotion from him. Lu's sister starts to question him, so he hints about his superpowers, but doesn't show her. When the main man goes to his room, he opens the digital system and buys what I think is a mushroom loaded with DMT, because what he experienced after swallowing looks like something straight up from the Joe Rogan Experience. After that, he can lift his bed easily. But sadly, there is no rest for the wicked, as Lu Shu is responsible for all the household duties and expenses. Thus, he takes some eggs to the bazaar to sell them, something his other classmate, the quote-unquote class leader, teases him about. Yet Lu not only doesn't mind it, but uses it to sell all his eggs and farm as many points from the class leader as he can. In class, Lu learns that more and more people are getting awakened, and that there are levels to it, A being the highest, while F being the lowest, and as you guessed it, in true high school anime fashion, our man turns out to be in the lowest rank. Just like his classmate that was just awakened is holding a teacher on the roof, threatening to throw him if the men in black get any closer. Incredibly, Lu's gears start going and his devilish side comes to light as he steps forward and reminds the kid that even if he is a minor, he will be prosecuted, and starts reciting the Chinese crime laws one by one, making everyone who went up to see some action miserable, farming points and distracting the kids so that the men in black can take down the little rascal with some impressed judo techniques. After all is said and done, Lu heads back to the classroom and sees some nurses standing there. They want to take some blood samples for inspection, so he gets nervous as he does not want them to know about his superpowers. When he tries to weasel his way out of it, Lu gets stopped by a nurse built like a mountain, leaving him no choice. Back at home, Lu finds his little sister down with a fever due to her trying to wash his cloth in the cold. Therefore, he steps out and opens his magic screen to play on the Wheel of Fortune till he gets the good fruit for her to get better. And indeed, it worked as a charm. Her fever went away as soon as she took it. Then they kept repeating this cycle over and over till he gives her a bag of fruits, making her realize that her brother indeed was awakened. But her excitement turned to anger when the man starts mentioning that she needs to do her studies. The next day, it is announced at school that there will be a special class for special students with a special teacher. It turns out the special teacher is the man in black. His name is Shifei. Several students get chosen, among them Lu Shu, shocking the points out of them. Soon after, a new student arrives named Jiang Shudi, and immediately gets mistaken for a girl. So you know our boy is going to use it to his advantage and farm some point from his new buddy, who also turns out to be in the same special class Shifei is teaching. The class teaches the basics of fighting and leveling up. He then explains that potassium alloy is a liquid metal that can detect human blood against the reaction rate with the aura of heaven and earth, which is commonly referred to as qualification. When potassium comes into contact with the blood of people with potential for spiritual practice, it will change from silver to black. The darker the color, the higher the qualification. Based on the darkness, the qualification can be divided into 6 levels: A, B, C, D, E, and F. After the class, the qualification levels of everyone in this special class group will be published. The teacher also stated that the level of the qualification doesn't determine their future achievements, but their hard work is what does. Lu Shu's qualifications were F, putting him last in the class. However, there is a reason behind that, being before taking the blood test, all that Lu Shu had eaten was the refining fruit, so he thinks that the qualifications measured are relatively low, which can be good too, as he doesn't trust his new teachers that much. Speaking about the devil fruit, his stock of fruit ends, and so he starts to seek other rewards and ends up with a stinky tofu that attracts the attention of his sister. When he continues to play with his sister at his side, Lu finally wins something different, another sheet of paper, but this one is dark blue. It resonates with the sister, and she finds herself in space, just like what happened to our boy. When she comes back, she tells him that she is awakened. After that, Lu goes to bed and reflects on his day. That's when he comes up with the idea of selling the stinky tofu to earn money. Thus, atop the morning, he heads out, and on his way, he meets the grandpa living next door with Aunt Lin, who is having sword practice. The old G suggests he takes some sword practice lessons, but Lu refuses, earning some points. He later earns some more from the repulsive smell of the tofu driving the people away, but one brave soul decides to try and instantly falls in love with it, attracting the attention of others who also try the stinky dish, which turns out to be a mega success, earning him a good amount of money. Over time, he keeps going at it, earning money from the tofu and negative points from the smell, which he uses to buy more mushrooms and practice in the other realm till he was able to break through the Star Nebula first layer in his power map, which in turn unlock a cool-ass sword that he can control with his mind. Back at school, they start to practice with a spiritual stone. It has a lot of energy in it, and it's a resource for cultivation. Lu Shu uses the spiritual stone that doesn't seem to be enough for him, as his celestial map seems too much to handle with one measly standard stone. So the next day, Lu asks Jiang what he experienced, so he can say the same thing when questioned in class. Speaking about in-class activities, the class leader challenges our boy to an arm wrestling match, knowing he is just an F rank. Lu gladly accepts it and wins the match in tons of points after embarrassing the leader and annoying the classmates by telling them the leader has helped him to awaken. When the trap asks him about the awakening incident during lunch, Lu uses it further tease the boys and farm their negative energy. He then asks the trap if he knows anything about Shifei and others, to which the boy reveals that they work in Earth Network. Above the Earth Network is the Heavenly Network, the members of which are very few. At night, Lu Shu and his sister are at home chilling, when all of a sudden, he senses a strong aura. It belongs to a guy who we will be referring to as the Chinese Eren Yeager, because why not? After showing respect to the old G at his doorstep, Eren proceeds to enter the household, where the man is seen sitting in the dark with a fan in hand like a boss. He pours a cup of tea to the young man, who says, "Master Li, you are truly a generous person." further adding, the Earth and Heaven Network needs a talented person like you to maintain world peace. But the old man refuses to join back as there is a belief that he who joins the association can't run for office. Post-puberty, Aaron respects his decision and hopes one day they won't be enemies. He finishes the conversation before leaving by saying the director of the local association can only be him. Seeing the amount of respect given to the old G by the Heavenly Network, Lu decides he needs to learn more about his neighbor and thus reconsiders the decision to sword practice with him. The next day, people in school gossip that Sao Kingshi is the fastest practitioner of the current special class, and it seems that every time our boy crosses path with her, something in him ticks. Something our boy thinks about when he gets back home to find his sister is acting kinda like him and earning some point. He then figures his sister's map is connected to his, then he gets notifications about how much she angered the old G. Both realize this and starts milking the points out of the old G. Soon after, the little demon leaves the grandpa and Lu to practice the sword. The G grabs a regular piece of paper and tells him that everything can cut. He then proceeds to infuse the paper with chakra, turning it into a razor-sharp blade that can cut the ground and the wall in front, which amazes Lu Shu. Grandpa's strength and wisdom inspire the main man, and he starts to practice his hockey mastering technique. Although Sensei notes he knows nothing about the way of the sword, Lu has a talent for it and can come a long way very fast, as was evident from his skyrocket improvement. After the lesson ends, he asks Lu if he would like to take more responsibility one day if he has greater power. Lu replies no, something the old man understands and respects. The next day comes, and with it one of the Heaven Network officers who tells his old mentor there are signs of reappearance regarding the ruins in the various locations of this country. Even the ruins themselves are also an inseparable part of our country. Hope the association don't interfere on opening day. Further adding, you can strike me back with a single slash of the sword. Nothing can hold you back. And there's something more. The last seat of the Heavenly Network is always blank. Looking forward to the day when we can cooperate with the association and we long for world peace. Then he leaves after Lu's arrival. Lu remarks, isn't that an important figure in the network? To which the old man answers that he's just a level B commoner. Then the grandpa gives Lu Shu potassium alloy to test his qualifications. Lu tests both his and the little cutie. His turns into a star image resembling his celestial map, while his sister turns pitch black just like a wormhole. Needless to say, there's nothing about that on the record, indicating his power level, although can be compared to others, cannot be measured in the standard ways, so he decided to keep the results a secret and goes to bury the flasks. The old man appears from behind and asks him about the result, so he lies to Grandpa, telling him they are still F. Doubtful, the G leaves him. After that, Lu Shu practices his superpowers, and it turns out that the second layer nebula star gives the ability to protect oneself with a sparkly, ultra instinct kinda layer. Anyways, Lu Xiaoyu also breaks through the star nebula, but it's the first layer for her. And it turns out she can feel the energy of a recently dead creature around her and can control it like ants and birds. To test how big she can go, Lu Shu takes her to the stable to practice her new skill with pigs. She manages to summon a pig figure that appears to be angry, which is understandable. We too would be pissed if we were killed for bacon. That said, the pig's problems are about to multiply on a whole new level, as our mad lad to his sister's Korra first punches it to see if the dark soul feels the same, which in turn raises the question why in Lord's name he would know how it feels to punch a pig. Anyhow, the pig seems to feel and bleed like a regular live one, but it acts differently and freaks out when Lu pulls the soul dagger out of his head, ending the little piggy resurrection arc in a messy way. Naturally, seeing this, the little girl gets upset, so Lu promises to make it up for her. But then the siblings sense something happening in the city, so they move out to see what is going down, only to see his new teacher, with his men trying to capture a level D and 2 of his underlings. Shefe stands as he reflects fire shots one after the other. He then dodges the D-rank jump and continues to maneuver through the earthbender shenanigans. When the police arrive, the thugs leave with smug on their faces. Lu Shu and his sister were watching the fight, but he sends her home as he wanted to follow them, and it was too dangerous. Cornered inside a building like rats, the underlings voice their concern that they can't keep running anymore and they should surrender. Their leader says there is no peaceful surrender now that they have 2 of the network men, reassuring his men that he will take them out of there. However, it wasn't the grand escape the underlings had in their mind, as their fearless leader grabs them from the back and knocks them unconscious. He then runs for it, using their bodies like shields and obstacles to slow the network. That said, one of the agents managed to stab him with his blood sword thing. Down on his knees, the level D brute has no other option but to fight his way out. Yet at that moment, they notice a man sitting on top of them, mincingly. As usual, he tries to talk his way out, but it only manages to trigger the numbers out of them. Not knowing who the man in blue is, Sensei Shife orders his men to catch Lu, who uses this opportunity to show them how far he came with all that practice, and it was indeed pretty far as he was way too flexible, strong, and agile than the network officers. After finishing with the ladies, Lou comes face to face with the big dog who seems to be confident in his abilities to take on a teenager with a blue aura glowing around him. This confidence soon turned to confusion when he powers up and matches the guy's strength blow to blow, but unbeknown to that Class D sword practitioner, the young boy has a trick up his sleeve, or rather a dagger that goes through the guy's arm and then kills him. With nothing left to do, Lu Shu goes back home and takes his sister out to see if her ability with the dead creatures can work on an awakened D rank. So after making sure the area is clear with a spirit bird, they go back to the battlefield to store his soul for the next day as she was tired at the moment. On the other side, the upper party learns about the fight, but they don't know who the demon in blue is. At 1 a.m. exactly, Lu Xiaoyu wakes up in excitement to tell her big bro that she managed to control the dead Class D practitioner's body. Also, it seems she found the place where they hid the money through the fragments of this person's memory. Lu then cheers her up by telling her they will buy the house for sure in the future the right way. The next morning, Lu Shu goes to school and talks to Jiang Shui, who says that lately, scientists found that after an awakened person's death, most of the overflowing energy can be detected. This is also related to the recent emergence of a large number of antiparticle substances. There are strange changes in the world, including a massive revival of superpowers. It is called spiritual energy restoration. Animals and plants in various places also experience changes. He also gives him information about the Blessed Land, which is a place full of spiritual energy. Soon after, all the students head to the courtyard to welcome their new principal. Class B from Heavenly Network, Yi Xiaoli, who seems to be a very irresponsible mentor. He announces that soon all of the students will join the Heavenly Network and assume their responsibilities. Thus, the students are going to be distributed spiritual stones based on qualifications. Class C qualification, 1 stone. Class B, 2 stones. Class A, 10 stones. Awakened ones get 2 stones every month. And guess who is known as a quote-unquote awakened? Yep, it's our boy Lou, but he's more interested in the stones selling value than their practical value. So he talks with his homie to find a buyer on the black market, which he does, selling them for 120,000 each. As the day goes on, the chubby boy goes to visit the old G to ask him if he knows the guy responsible for defeating the D rank, to which the G responds, no. And before he leaves, he also tells him about a strange phenomenon about 2 skeleton corpses that can run, jump, and push people. He states that the grandpa will get the promised medicine, regardless if he joins them or not, as an appreciation for his old contributions. Lu Shu returns home with a gift for his little sister. It's a brand new phone. Moreover, he bought the house with the money earned from the spiritual stones, and they won't be kicked out anymore. However, their happiness is cut short when Lu Shu gets a call from his classmate, telling him they need to be at school ASAP. The students get taken somewhere in the mountains. They don't have any idea what's going on. Jiang Shui says that ruins will open soon, and they are responsible for perimeter security. They don't even know what the ruins actually are, but what they do know is that the ruins appeared suddenly after the big changes in the world, and there are ruins all over the world that attract many masters fighting over something within it, such as medicine and magic weapons. There's also something very important, which is called the Formation Eye. If someone got the Formation Eye, the entire ruins will be lost, as it's the most valuable item of all the ruins. Only 1 ruin has ever been opened in this country before. Upon arriving at the camp, Shifei warns them to keep today's action a secret. If not, there will be a military punishment. Shifei further explains that they have brought them here to gain experience. As such, they will be treated like soldiers, not students. The training begins right away. Everyone gets handed a stone and is ordered to go meditate, and of course, all the students are training except Lu Shu, who chose to bug the class leader to gain easy points. Later, Lu Shu practices alone and unlocks a new protective cover. It's breakfast time, and the first dish of the morning is Li's anger, as he wants to fight our boy for his non-stop teasing. But Shifei appears and says that a fight between fellow students and comrades is prohibited, so he tells them to solve their issues with a classic arm wrestling match and shake hands after. As expected, Lu Shu beats Li for the second time. Impressed, Shifei offers Lu Shu to arm wrestle together. Lu Shu beats him too. Suddenly there's a fog and an emergency alarm starts telling everyone to leave. The students are frightened and they run down to the mountain. The fog is like a tornado, and it sucks Lu Shu to a location that is unfamiliar to him. An axe is thrown at him by a zombie. Lu Shu protects himself and beats the zombie, but unfortunately more zombies start to get out from the ground in great numbers, so he runs away. While running, he encounters some students who are afraid as hell. Zombies attack one of them, and Lu Shu uses the axe to fight them back and protect the students. However, at some point, a zombie manages to take the main man down. Struggling on the ground, Lu manages to break through that corpse's cold hold and cut its head in front of his schoolmates, who decided not to help him. Thus, it was very understandable that he chose to leave them to look for his only true friend, the trap. Lu Shu wanders around the dangerous fields full of zombies. When it gets dark, he decides to look for a place to hide. Suddenly, he sees a sparkling fire flying across the sky. He hits it and seizes the fire flare. A student in a mountain gap is using them, but Lu Shu doesn't recognize him, and his name tag in the system is just a number tag. So he realizes this foreigner is a spy, and the flare shot came from a 3D printed disposable flare gun that can pass the Heavenly Network security checkpoint. They start to talk, but both are anxious and don't trust each other. Hence, they fake their identities in cities. Soon the boys run into a horde of zombies. A spy asks for the weapon, but Lu doesn't want to give it up. So he acts like a weak beta and runs away, leaving the guy angry. That said, they reunite yet again. After the action settles down, the spy and Lu spend the night together. In the morning, Lu Shu gets hungry, so he tells his cave mate he's going to take a leak and gets rotten tofu secretly, which makes the spy surprised. As Lu Shu starts to talk more and more, he makes the already hungry spy angrier, and just like that, they start to fight. When Lu manages to throw the guy away, he loses his sword. Thus, he too uses the dagger up his sleeve, driving it into the back of the spy, finishing him. After that, Lu Shu continues his journey into the unknown till he reaches a green oasis with clean running water to quench his thirst and fresh apples. When he goes to grab one, some squirrels start to throw stones at him. It turns out he can also gain points from the negative emotions of animals in this realm, as they have reached somewhat of emotional intelligence. That said, no chabby squirrel is going to stop our boy from getting these apples, as they are not only good to eat, but also replenish strength and quench thirst. Later, he gets attacked by wolves with also feelings, so after he bugs them, Lu starts sprinting. The more he runs, the fitter his body becomes. He manages to get rid of the wolves and reunites with the student group he had left before. They are scared and hungry. Lu Shu takes out his apples and starts to eat in front of them, showing he doesn't even care about them. They are all angry at him. After getting some points, he gets up and is determined to find the Formation Eye. As Lu Shu continues his path, he encounters a zombie with a horse and a nice spear, nice enough for our boy to take it, upsetting the zombie. Lu Shu then adds insult to injury by throwing him off the horse and running away as soon as the zombie homies arrive. They try to shoot him down with arrows as he makes his escape, but they fail, frustrating them as he is too agile, so they leave. Meanwhile, the network officers are camping on top of a mountain waiting for the horse troops to pass by and shoot their leader with a sniper. Unfortunately, the home team mistakes the zombie with no spear in hand for the leader, not knowing he had a Lu incident earlier. Therefore, when they shoot him, instead of the zombies turning to clueless NPCs, the actual leader notices them and orders his men to fire back. After running away, the home team regroups and assists the station, concluding it will be very hard to smite the leader now, as the element of surprise is no longer with them. Or so they thought. Suddenly, they see someone hidden in the rocks. It's Lu Shu, who is very playful with zombies. Soon, a violent fight starts between Lu Shu and the zombies. Lu Shu easily uses his wide range of weapons to cut their heads off and beats them all. Meanwhile, Li Xiaoyu is alone at home and mad at Lu Shu for being gone so long. Back on the battlefield, Lu Shu keeps getting his loot collection bigger and bigger. Following the path made up of dead zombies, the home team prepares for the next fight. While they position themselves to attack the zombie leader, Lu Shu strikes first from nowhere with the zombie spears that he infused with his power. Seeing the fight has started, the officers, unlike the first group Lu ran into earlier, Hall asks to help him. But like last time, Lu doesn't need any help and finishes work as soon as they arrive. The officer tries to compliment our boy for his power and skill, but Lu's only care is to pick that loot up. With so many weapons in hand, the Silver-Tongued Demon King announces that he is selling all the weapons, and since most don't have cash on them, he comes up with a trading system instead of cash. Although people are hesitant to buy until one brave soul comes forward to buy one, and just like that, everyone soon followed, earning himself easy money and, of course, easy points. Now all dripped up and ready to continue moving, the home team along with Lu is leading the way walk toward the center of the ruins. As they get closer to the core area, the temperature drops and the students get tired, so they camp at a safe spot for the night. While admiring his new bling, Lu feels hungry, so he grabs himself one super apple. He then notices that the network men are beaten down quite well, so he shares his apples with them without any compensation, and as soon as they take a bite, they feel their strength is back, their thirst is quenched, and their hunger is gone. Seeing this, the students ask for apples, but our boy refuses, pointing out that it would be a waste on them, and it would be better if they are consumed by the men who are going to risk their lives for them. That said, his moral values fastly fly out of the window when one guy starts talking Lu's language, aka money. Suddenly, some flying ghosts come and attack them, but as soon as they see Lu Shu's face resembling a monster, they flew away the same way they flew in, confusing the home team. The lads continue their path, reaching the core area. where they reunite with other people and share their adventures. Lu overhears a couple of kids talking about how the Bei Lu used to cross paths with was very brave and protected everyone, and unlike him, gave the weapons away for free to the students. Upon learning about the great feats she and Lu did, one of the masters in the Heavenly Network invites them to a meeting. He introduces himself as the new top officer till the B-rank Chubby Boy gets back and tells him to follow his instructions. He takes a blood heart-shaped sword using his blue energy, which was a flying weapon that only C-class practitioners could conjure, and sends the weapon to measure the depth of the hole in the floor. It turns out to be 100 meters deep, and there's a cave. He says that the power of the ruins here is much stronger than anywhere else. Soon Master Li arrives with an apple tree that he carried back to the cave just because the chubby squirrel kept bugging him. Lu sees the little fella sad that everyone is eating his apples, so he offers him one and they become buddies. Later at night, by checking the names of the people Lu Shu gained points, Lu sees that there are several spies there. Thus, he stayed awake when everyone slept, a wise choice, as he was able to spot the spies diving in the pit except one who got held by our boy multiple times. Frustrated, the spy says F it, and they start to fight. After confronting him for a bit, Lu screams, "What are you doing, step bro?" Everyone wakes up to check what kind of Sa's behavior is going down. Among them is Li, who as soon as heard Lu's screams, processed to manhandle the spy in a blink of an eye. Later, after Li tells the group they will be following the spies who he is positive won't be able to beat them to the eye, he goes to Lu and makes a 50-50 business cooperation with our boy. When another ruin opens, Li will personally invite Lu since special class disciples cannot enter the ruins, and once he is in, Lu can do what he did so far, earning lots of money for both parties. With business out of the way, Li leads the way downstairs, which was created by an earth-bending deity. As soon as they reach the lowest point, they see the spies who are already dead. Lu Shu considers everything very strange, but they continue their march. After a while, a cave opens up and a bright light comes from it, as well as flying spirits. Li Yixiao uses his firepower to attack them, while others use their weapons to fight them back. Well, everyone other than Lu Shu, whom the ghosts avoid because they are scared of his corpse dog that ends up eating well with every ghost our boy kills and absorbs. Soon after, lots of zombies appear with their leader who has a spear in his hand, which Li dubs the formation of the eye. Therefore, he thinks that after seizing the spear, these ruins would instantly disappear along with everything inside it, from land to monsters. Thus, he attacks the leader, killing his horse. A fierce fight starts between the zombies and the people. At some point, Lu was going to be hit from a blind spot if it wasn't for his girl Sao stepping in. Some time passes, and Lu notices that the zombies are avoiding him because of the corpse dog, which sparks an idea inside that devious head of his, so he ends up leaving the battlefield and enters the castle without being noticed. After that, Lu Shu continues his exploring and opens a huge door, believing some nice items behind it are worth $1. Meanwhile, the fierce fight outside continues. Now inside the zombie headquarters, Lu sees some huge statues with nicer spears than the zombies, so naturally he wants them. However, the figures move and show they are ready to duke it out. Hence, Lu pulls corpse dog, and as soon as they lay eyes on that cool dagger, the statues back up and stand still. Lu then proceeds to take their spears, upsetting the negative points out of them. After that, he enters another room. Inside, he finds a piece of paper that seems important. As he approaches it, the zombie leader, still fighting Li over the spear, senses that something is up, so he throws him the spear and immediately heads back inside. Li realizes that what he is holding is not the formation eye, so goes after him, but he gets stuck fighting the guards. The zombie leader approaches Lu Shu, who was reaching for a golden seal, which is too precious for the zombie leader as it's the mountain and river seal. Out of surprise, Lu Shu drops it. Luckily, though, he catches it last second, and his body absorbed it, and with it, everything in the realm. The buildings, the people, and the zombies disappeared, immediately flying away to the seal which was in Lu Shu's hand. Even Lu Shu himself disappeared from there. Incidentally, everyone else gets transferred to the city. The students register and drop off their weapons, everyone except the class leader, who looks depressed because Lu went missing, making him sad as everyone believes he has died. And so the class leader volunteers to look for his body, claiming they are related. The bittersweet scene then turns comedic when Lu arrives and shifts the mood, teasing what now I presume is his brother. Speaking about siblings, after being finished with the weapons, Lu Shu goes home to his sister. He is welcomed not only by his little sister, who was extremely worried about him, but also by the old Ji and auntie, whom he thanks for looking after his sister while he was gone. He also thanks the old Ji for his training as it helped in the ruin. Finally, back to home sweet home, Lu Shu tells his sister about his adventures and shows her 2 pearls he got. The black one was from Corpse Dog absorbing the spirits and zombies, while the colorful one was from absorbing the spies. He then tells her that they can be used as food to power the spirits she can summon. Also, he hands her 2 last gifts, some apples from the ruin, and of course, the chubby squirrel, who gets frustrated seeing her eating his apples without sharing them with him. But then she wins him back with a potato chip and they become friends. Later, Lu Shu finds out that the seal of the mountain and river is a divine object that can observe the earth and that the aura there can be controlled. The only thing he needs to do is become stronger to gain access to the castle within. On the other side, two guys from the Heavenly Network think that the Formation I was taken by a spy, but they still don't have any proof. Moreover, they had already sent two members to the city to report any unusual flow of the aura. They also discussed the students, stating that Lu Shu and Sao Qingxi are outstanding. One of them says that new ruins are opening soon, further adding Northern Gods, Eastern Gods, and Western Vows. Even the Foundation and the Network are working to step up the war effort. There's no need to wait for the next ruin. There will be a war between heaven and earth. Change is coming. Meanwhile, changes happen in the Liu household. The kids now have a new TV, and our boy is not stopping there as he wants to provide a better life for himself and his sister. And so he continues to explore his new superpower. We move to a battle between a guy in a hood who looks so much like Eren Yeager you can almost taste it. A bunch of other awakened users try to take him out. However, he is more than capable to handle him. Ambushing this dude was as a big mistake as choosing to engage him in a fight instead of running away. For the next few minutes, we are treated to some insane battle choreography, the kind you haven't seen since that one kid on the swing just vibing solo. I mean, aside from the big shonen shows, name a character sliding like that after a long fight. The obvious winner of the fight stands on business, proud of his work. Short lore explanation. This guy is the leader of an organization of awakened individuals that is training the next generation to join them and fight the good fight, i.e. protecting their motherland from foreign threats and awakened users. This organization is called Dragnet. That said, we move from the leader roasting some poor bastard to a crisp straight to Lu Shu, who is still roasting his customers, seeking to buy his famous stinky tofu which he gained from the geisha system that his unique power offers. While checking his phone, the fat guy is desperate to try out the stinky tofu and negative points appear above his head. Lu Shu gives a brief on how his powers work and why he acts like a jerk. A funny one I might add to almost every other character in the show. Speaking about the show characters, after the incident that happened in the dungeon, the parents of the original cast became unsure of their children's safety, which is why a meeting was being held in the school, led by the commander of the Dragnet that trained them and led them into that expedition. Lu Shu infiltrates the meeting disguised as his father, wearing glasses and a loosened tie. Yet, unlike Superman cosplaying Clark Kent, he gets spotted by the teacher and parents, who he gets some juicy points off. Lu Shu came to this meeting since he is an orphan. During the meeting, an angry parent explained his discontent with putting their children in danger and how this didn't sit well with them. The instructor explained that if they fear for their children's safety, then they must withdraw from this school since the dangers will only increase going forward. Consequently, if they want to stay and wish to protect their motherland, then putting one's life on the line is just another day on the job. After a powerful speech by the instructor, the parents realized what was at stake here and agreed to leave their children in that school. Well, that and the promise of paying the students the average organization's salary while giving them minimal tasks and responsibilities during their studies. Back at his house, Lu Shu starts up the lottery system to use the points he gained throughout his day. Now here he is trying to hit the jackpot to further his abilities and skills. One roll after the other, and they are all duds. Just when he started to lose hope, the needle finally landed on the jackpot. The jackpot was something that looked like a cherry, a chihai fruit to be exact. Once he ate it, Lu Shu felt as if time had stopped, and he started to accumulate energy from everywhere around him. As it accumulated more and more, Lu Shu felt himself floating on clouds. However, he was still disappointed for not sensing any physical change in his power or realms after eating that fruit. A frustrated Lu Shu leaves the house and heads over to the old man next door to resume his sword training. The old man gets wind of Lu Shu wanting to join Dragnet and then explains how the foundation of swordsmanship works. You see, there are many types of chi to exploit, use, and gain powers from once mastered. The sword is just the instrument to release them, and gaining mastery over those powers requires years upon years of practice. At that moment, Lu Shu realized what the Chihai fruit was for. It was to accumulate those cumulus clouds inside of him. Lu Shu then tapped into that energy within him and released a wind-like blast that tore the leaves in the distance. The old man silently retreated to his humble house and screamed his lungs out, and the number +999 appeared on the screen for Lu Shu. On the next day, Lu calls his friend Jian with a peculiar request: 3 drops of his blood. Weirdly enough, Jian agrees almost instantly and doesn't even ask him why he needs the blood drops. Jay is a real one. Be like Jay. Piss in that cup to let the homie pass a weed test. Soon after, his little sister wakes up. He gives her the great news that she will be able to attend school as well. Trying to outsmart him, she asks for 3 specific dishes, and if he can make them in the next 5 minutes, then she will finally accept to attend school. Too bad for her. She could know that Lu Shu already had those dishes packed up in his storage from the previous night in the lottery. Much to her disdain, she agrees to attend the school, but not before pouring all her anger and frustration on the poor squirrel, who by the way was making a rat gang. You will see soon. After Lu Shu met with the principal to hand over his sister's papers and fake blood, he went to resume his sword lessons with the old man, during which the cat is out of the bag. The old man warns Lu Shu of the consequences of faking potential blood tests and the fact that the blood sample he took from his friend will be discovered in the morning, since Dragnet keeps DNA archive data of all those that they have tested before. The old man then gives Lu Shu another blood test with B's spiritual power potential and urges him to switch the vials before sunrise, or he and his sister's tests will be discovered to be fakes. Without taking any chances, Lu Shu woke up his sister and headed over to the school to change her results using her ability to control shadow constructs. Using the relic he gained from the dungeon, Lu Shu enters his ethereal form to follow the shadow and make sure that the path is clear. The shadow infiltrates the premises with ease and switches the vials. However, on his way out, the shadow clone is discovered by a night guard. One thing leads to another, and the shadow construct is sniped by an unknown guard. Luckily, it still manages to make its way out of the school. However, due to all the fuss, it is revealed Lu couldn't swap the blood bottles. So he went to talk with the old man, telling him he didn't dare to go near the school when they heard gunshots at night, and so here he is asking him for a favor, which the latter agrees to. Just this time he tells him the sensei said. Later, when the old man talks to his wife, we learn that both know more than they show off, and that the old man suspects Lu has generational potential, and he plans to support as well as refine his talents. Now with the shitstorm done, Lu Shu gives the awakening fruit to his sister's squirrel, awakening him and changing his color to full white. Not only that, Lu Shu gets the genius idea to make the rats drink from a bucket of water with a fruit squeezed in, so that they awaken them to use newly acquired brain cells to collect information for the super squirrel, who in turn will pass the main team. Lu also gives the chubby little fella some homework to increase his vocab and ability to communicate with him. The next day, Lu Shu and his sister go to school, and he reminds her not to use her powers or hit anyone, revealing how strong she is. Yet, if someone provokes her, she is free to defend herself as long as it doesn't go to the extreme. Pretty good advice, considering the little rascal is not making any friends today, which Lu Shu knows, judging by how unsurprised he was while watching the negative emotions of his sister's classmates. Suddenly, Lu Shu's teacher approaches him and takes his hand to thank him for his contributions to securing the ruins. Also, he was awarded the rank of lieutenant. Later, the goofy commander takes the stage to give a speech for the students who remain in the military faction, to both thank them for deciding to fight for the country and to ignite their spirits bright for the dark times they will face moving forward. The students then take an oath and are now officially Dragnet members. Something the kids seem moved by, but not Lu Shu, who doesn't understand what's so great about protecting people he doesn't know and land he doesn't own. His deep thinking is cut by a surge of negative emotions coming from his sister's way. A teacher comes to tell him to head for the principal office, where Lu Shu has to apologize to all the parents of the children his sister beat up and pay for the medical expenses that came with it. On their way home, Lu Shu gives her the silent treatment, and she realizes just how much she messed up this time. Once they reached their home, the little angry gremlin broke on the ground, crying, afraid that her big bro was so mad and disappointed for what she did that he might send her back to the orphanage and stop supporting her. Lu Shu climbs up the ladder and sits on the house's roof. He then asks her to join. After explaining to her that although sometimes action must be taken, the way she took it was unnecessary and excessive, emphasizing that she should learn to understand the situation and decide what kind of action must be taken. Realizing the consequences of said action, the two reconcile. Lu Shu then goes on to explain, although he doesn't understand it, he now feels different. Ever since he took that oath to protect the country and everyone in it, and what a huge responsibility that is. He even tells her that he used to think that Dragnet was silly, and that the old man, i.e. his sensei, was an idiot for trying to push him to rise in the ranks. Speaking about the old man, the swordmaster and his pupil are practicing to open the Chi-Hai channels. The student is a crybaby. However, no matter how hard he tries, the level won't unlock even after 20,000 tries. Back to the present, it is revealed that the same crybaby was none other than Old Man Shan. He explains just how frustrated he is that Lu was able to do in 2 months what he couldn't do in 2 years. Lu Shu is back to practice his fighting skills with the sword and is taught a new technique by the old man that might help him control the raging clouds of his chi. This might give him the edge he needs to make the clouds rain, i.e. conquer this level. One slash after another, Lu Shu was inching closer to his goal until with one swing he released a strike that unleashed a sound. This is a martial art called the martial arts sound technique that not even the old man's teacher witnessed in his lifetime. The next step is for him to turn those droplets into a river, and from a river into a raging sea with the power to destroy mountains. Yet to work hard, one needs to play hard. So Lu Shu makes plans to visit some rural areas and sightsee. Once the siblings wake up, they prepare for their trip to the mountains and will be traveling there by train for the first time. Both are very excited to experience this new sensation. And once they reach their benches after a small quarrel with the security about the squirrel, they encounter a group of awakened students from their school who are playing cards in their cubicle. Lu Shu demands to rest in his bottom bed, which upsets the kids who are mid-game. After a small back and forth trash talk to milk the kids for some points, the ticket man arrives and the situation is diffused before it reaches the boiling point. While everyone is sleeping soundly, Lu Shu leaves for a walk around the train and decides to practice his sword techniques. Even though he has no sword, during his training he was able to conjure up an ethereal sword, and with one swing the clouds moved and the glass of the train was punctured through. The next day, as the douche class students were ranting about the spiritual stones and that they know of a secret market to buy them from, Lu interjects and reveals to them that he is a lieutenant class student, and according to Dragnet regulations, they should show him respect and salute him. Naturally, it doesn't sit well with them and the points start coming. Therefore, Lu Shu further scolded them, resulting in the main loser printing Lu Shu lots of points. It was insane. Later, the two arrive at their destination, but decide to take a detour, tracking down the group of students to find out the whereabouts of the black market. Lu Shu and his sister arrive at an abandoned area and decide to investigate the guy driving them around, as he is giving off an energy level of a rank D at least. Lu Shu enters the black market in disguise while his sister stays on the lookout for any danger. As he walks through the market, he sees those students being tricked by some hustler out of their money. One of those hustlers calls out to Lu Shu, trying to convince him to buy his fake wares. But alas, Lu Shu was someone not to mess with in this case, because the hustler eventually got hustled out of 2 of his finest stones, not for 200,000 yen, but for 118,000 yen. As Lu Shu went on browsing the market, he saw a merchant with spiritual fluctuations to him. This meant that he was a low-level awakener, not part of the Dragnet and not a student. They talk briefly, and the merchant reveals that he has a real magical item for selling. And in return, he wants 5 fine spiritual stones, a large amount to score even by the black market standards. Lu Shu agrees, since the weapon is much scarcer and more valuable than a spiritual stone he can get for free from the school once a month, and they make an exchange in the back alley. After demonstrating the ability of the magical item, Lu Shu is skeptical about whether it is worth buying. This skepticism proved to be valuable, since the 4-eyed big boy lowered the price from 5 stones to 4. Once securing the deal, the mysterious man leaves the scene in a rush, but not before making sure to let Lu Shu know there are no takesies-backsies. Wondering if there is more to the magical item, Lu Shu tries it out on one of the students, but the results aren't the way he wanted them to be. The gourd was supposed to trap anyone whose name is spelled, but it didn't do that, and he didn't have any more time to test it out. That said, seeing how the main douche collapsed to the ground and his friends reacted to it, Lu Shu concludes it can be a good device to find out spies fast. The next day, Lu Shu goes off with his sister and treats her to all kinds of food before going on their trip. Coincidentally, the merchant from before is on the same bus. Lu Shu managed to identify him from his energy and special item. Also, the loser squad is on that bus too. On the way, the guide speaks of a legend about a powerful magical mirror that the valley was named after. Later, while chilling in front of a lake at sunset, Lu Shu asks his sister to honestly tell him her favorite thing in the world, to which she answers that she loves being with him and around him all the time. Well, that and eating her favorite junk food. The wholesome moment gets cut short when Lu Shu feels a disturbance in the force. A spiritual power is approaching them. Turns out the Scythe Lord behind this disturbance was none other than the same guy that tried to burn our boy in Season 1. The blondie is there to meet up with the merchant. It is explained that the merchant's compass will lead him to what his heart truly desires. In this case, it's the mirror, so they can sell that powerful magical weapon to the foreigners to benefit from it. Upon hearing this, Lu Shu was like, "Oh no, not on my watch, buddy." Using his relic, Lu Shu entered his ethereal form, picked up the guy's motorbike, and just ran for the hills. Seeing Lu Shu sprint through the night with a motorbike on his back was the funniest shit ever. After passing by bystanders and rushing ahead, reports began to swarm the Dragnet that some weird motorbike was floating midair with no explanation. Therefore, the agency decides to form checkpoints around the area in hopes of tracking down the person who is behind of all this. Now, with those two slowed down for God knows how long, Lu Shu rushes back to the Ryu Mountains to find the item they were talking about. Due to it being a spiritual item, it must have a fluctuation to it. Sensing the fluctuation, Lu Shu heads off and discovers a hollow entrance in the ground. Shoving off the relic he won back in the first dungeon, Lu Shu summons a spear to break the entrance and enters a cave filled with traps. One wrong step can end someone's life. That said, this is the main character we are talking about. Lu Shu is no run-of-the-mill guy. He has top-tier reaction time that helps him dodge all the upcoming dangers. After clearing the floor with style, Lu Shu enters a room in the middle of the cave where he finds a piece of the broken mirror set on an altar. With nobody to stop him, the main man called dibs on the mirror, which according to legend can show places 1,000 miles away. But instead, it showed nothing but pure darkness, as the light from the mirror almost burnt his eyes off. From his perspective, it was the same as getting hit with a Phoenix flash bomb. Before he could try and understand how the mirror works, a notification appears on his point system, revealing that those two have just arrived at his location. The two lads fight over who should go down the hole first. Not being able to come eye to eye on who should take one for the team, the foreigner decides to burn everything up in the cave. Lu then talks to them from underneath and throws the mirror piece to them, tricking the two buffoons into using it. Once they use it, a powerful flash illuminates the night sky, and their pupils are introduced to a world of pain. Lu then simply steps out of the dungeon, grabs the mirror, and walks off into the distance with the guy's motorbike again. Just how unlucky can those two honestly get? Exhausted and walking back to the camp, they stumble upon a car filled with Dragnet members looking for the so-called motorbike monster. The Dragnet members sense something weird about those two and decide to investigate further into the matter. When they ask those two about their identity, Liang Chen runs off as fast as he can to escape the Dragnet, but to no avail. Thus, a huge battle starts between him and those Dragnet members trying to apprehend him. The leader of the team decides to release a B-level spiritual attack, and that was when Liang Chen gave himself up, knowing that he had no chance to stand up against such an attack. Soon after, the Dragnet investigators then discover the tomb and report that there was nothing on the altar. Back at the camp, Lu Shu finds his sister fighting hard not to fall asleep before making sure that he is back safe and sound. In the distance, the main man spots a convoy of Dragnet members coming through. Also, he notices the two have got caught. Coincidentally, his friend was also there since they got wind of a ruin that would soon open, and Dragnet had formed many checkpoints on the road to stop any foreign practitioners from gaining its powers. Later, when they arrive at a camp where the ruins are supposed to open, Lu Shu has a vision of Tamlu standing over a lake. Not going to lie, shit looked hype AF. But before we meet him, we are first treated to a scene where the big bad speaks some words of encouragement to his people and how they will handle the good guys with no problem. Meanwhile, Lu Shu remembers a talk with his master about the top members of the org. Some pretty basic moments that don't add much to the story later on, so we're going to fast forward to the Dragnet members preparing for the day of the expedition into the ruins. In their tent, Lu Shu meets two other practitioners. Lu Shu doesn't care about who is tagging with him in a life or death situation, but his only interest is the gold watch Zhuan is wearing. During lunch, Zhuan looks up the background of everyone that was in that tent and realizes that Lu Shu is the same person who killed the Spectres, i.e. skeleton soldiers, back in the first dungeon and then sold off their weapons for students. As preparations are still underway, Chiao Qingqi makes an appearance since she's going to join the expedition as well. The two new lads in the squad tried to raise her but fail miserably. Like it was so brutal that for a moment it seemed they didn't even exist. If it weren't for the negative point, I would argue they were a fragment of the character's imagination. Yet they are no John Cena, as Lu Shu clearly engages with them. Zhuan warns Lu Shu of speaking English or any other foreign language in front of the old man overseeing the mission since he doesn't like them. Soon after, Lu Shu and his sister go exploring the lake and take a few pictures. Chen Bailey, the racist old man responsible for the expedition, interjects and asks not Lu Shu, but Lu Shu's little sister to become his apprentice. Quite shocking, I know, to imagine that there is an old OP character that is interested in a person aside from the main man. It was jaw-dropping, just like what happened to the duo when the old man used his powers as a show of strength and ended up killing the birds in the sky. Yet Lu Shu's sister refuses all his attempts to become his pupil since this show of strength and character made her scared of him. In the end, the only thing this scene establishes is that birds near his vicinity stand no chance when the old man gets frustrated. Thankfully, this NPC interaction gets cut short when the mist starts to rush towards them from all sides of the lake, a sign that the ruin is opening. Hence, the old-timer tells everyone to prepare for it immediately. As they are walking towards the ruins, Lu Shu explains to his sister that once they enter, they will be separated from each other with each teleported to a different location that might be close or far. So he urges his sister to head towards the center of the ruin where he will most definitely be. Also, during the walk, they discover that Zhuan is related to Chen Bailey. As soon as Lu entered the dungeon, he was greeted by a scenery of thick trees and lush fields. The main man then switched his focus to the sound of distressed students. After all, it was the first time they entered a dungeon. One of the students with the potential of an A class calmed them down and elected himself as the group's leader. After some back and forth with the newly appointed leader, Lou suggests that they should climb up a tree and check where they are exactly, which will help in figuring out the right path they should take. Upon reaching the top, the main man used his spiritual energy perception to locate the middle of the ruin where the fluctuations were strongest. He then went down and suggested they camp for the night, but due to his goofy attitude, his suggestion fell on deaf ears. The self-elected leader decided to keep exploring the ruins. A poor choice, I would say. Not because I am a camper, but because I watched lots of movies and vids where shit goes sideways while exploring the forest in the dark. Meanwhile, Lu Shu's sister is exploring the ruins where she encounters a wild boar that is glaring and roaring at her. Sadly for the boar, it picked the wrong damsel in distress, as she can summon a shadow knight to fight for her. And as evident by the notifications on Lu Shu's end, the little princess is doing fine on her own and even flourishing in the dungeon, as she is making any wild animal that crosses her path to suffer. Speaking about wild animals, Lu Shu back finds himself being swarmed by many wild beasts. Turns out they were seeking this spot for safety from the shining vines that grab and kill them for nutrients. Realizing that there is nowhere else to go but this space, the King of Hustle decides to take advantage of the situation and rack up as many points as he can from those creatures. Back to the other team, they are still being attacked by those trees and trying to make a run for it. They hear the voices of another group and regroup with them. The leader of the other group is a Dragnet member. He explains that their only option is to find an open space and camp in for the night. He then continues to explain that the one they just passed had a lot of beasts in it, so they couldn't stay there. This means their only option was to backtrack to where they left Lu Shu. The first thing they see is our boy checking the dental hygiene of the wild animals, or as normal people would put it, abusing them for points. Now, before you throw some hate toward the lad, you should know that death was the other option suggested by the group. After taking them in, the so-called leader asks for Lu Shu's forgiveness for not listening to him from the start. There was a pretty sweet moment that was second to the team leader asking him what they should do the next day. The person who asked him is a fully grown-up fledged soldier, and this moment shows how different our guy is built. But enough with the glazing. After Lu Shu advised them that they should continue exploring and advancing to the center of the ruin while taking shelter at night in safe areas, Lu Shu explained that he would be working separately from them, doing his own thing, probably trying to find his sister. The next day, the group's leader wakes up and finds that Lu Shu has already left the camping area. He then spots a student wanting to use some of his water to brush his teeth, considering the situation is a wasteful thing to say the least, especially since they don't know where to find another source of water yet. One problem after the other, they encounter beasts of all kinds and forms and a giant boar leading them. The same boar that attacked Xiaoyu the previous night, and to their surprise, she was riding the boar like a horse. Xiaoyu asks the campers if they saw her brother, and they point her in his direction while still flabbergasted at the sight of a young kid controlling all those wild beasts like loyal household pets. Walking through the forest, the beasts discover the stench of someone that she thinks is Lu Shu, so she then orders the animals to follow the trail of the smell. Sadly, all she can find is Zhu-an taking a piss, which throws her into a fit of blind rage. Although we couldn't see what happened next, Lu Shu's system monitor tells a story of pain and suffering. Lu then notices a group of officers looking for a place to camp, so he decides to join them to siphon off their bad attitude points. Incidentally, Lu Shu also hopes that maybe he will be able to unlock his 7th star on that day. Side note, one of the group's members is a spy. Thanks to Lu Shu's point system, he is made aware of the spy's presence. Therefore, our boy uses his special ability to get on everyone's nerves to root him out and discover which one is the imposter. At night, Lu Shu stands at the edges of the safe zone, not to guard the people, but to bully the animals seeking shelter for more points. Alas, not a single one shows up, as they are terrified of him and don't want to encounter the mad lad. With nothing else to do, Lu Shu decides to go ahead and tease the spy to grab as much bad emotional points as he can. Back at the camp, the group's leader explains since they are responsible for the safety of the students, they need to take turns on the night watch, and that he will be taking the first shift. The spy then says that he will take the second one, assuring the leader that everything is okay. With his shift starting, he walks towards a sleeping Lu, brandishes out his hidden weapon. And the moment he strikes, Lu rises, dodging the lethal blow. Naturally, it pisses off the spy as well as everyone present, as he makes a scene waking them up. After securing enough points, Lu continues sleeping as if nothing happened, leaving the identity of the spy a secret for now. Not wanting to deal with the human migraine that is Lu Shu, the imposter was like, "Fit. I would rather try my chances against the man eating plants." As soon as he enters the woods, the poor bastard is attacked by vines, and to make matters worse for him, Lu tracks him down and reveals that he knows his identity. A small fight takes place between them. Needless to say, the spy is outmatched in every way, shape, and form. As he makes a run for it, Lu Shu throws at him one of his famous spears, tearing a tree down. And adding insult to injury, he uses the gourd to cause him lots of pain. Following this humiliating defeat, an interrogation takes place in which the spy explains that there are more of them in the ruins hiding, and their way of communicating together is through certain codes. The secret code they use is formed of the zodiac sign and the 3 last digits of one's number. Their code names are the most secure secrets out there, and no one knows them whatsoever. Furthermore, he reveals that strength-wise, there should be someone at least at C level and another master close to being at B level. Before he can discover their plan and how they are going to deal with someone like Cheng Bailey, Lu Shu offers to give him stinky tofu to eat. As soon as the dish appears, the vines attack it, giving the spy enough time to escape from Lu Shu. However, it couldn't make it far. The spy ended up as plant fertilizer. Back in the camp, the alarm on the third instructor's clock goes off. Confused as to why the second instructor didn't wake her up, she looked around and didn't find him. So she woke everyone up, and a campaign was formed to find the whereabouts of the so-called teacher. Please note that Lu Shu didn't tell them about what happened, since there might be another spy he didn't notice. The following day, the group decides to continue marching to the center, hoping they might find Lily, aka the imposter. During the march, Lu Shu encounters yet another beast that learned to fear him the hard way. As it flees, Lu Shu rushes after it to gain as many negative feelings as possible to unlock his 7th star, which is the largest one in his star chart, lying at the center of the nebula. However, awakening it didn't yield the results he wanted to receive. Looking right under him, Lu Shu finds a terrified Li Dan walking through the forest. So like any normal fantasy hero, our boy decides to scare the living crap out of him by impersonating some ancient witch. He then takes things a step further and shows up in front of him in his ethereal form and demands an apology for trespassing on his domain. Therefore, a scared shitless Li Dan gives up his magical compass after explaining how it works. Turns out, aside from pointing you to your desires, the compass also targets the thing that has the most spiritual power in it for a half-kilometer, making it a huge score for the main man. As soon as Lu Shu leaves the area to find Xiaoyu using the compass, Li Dan tries to leave the forest to an open space, but someone stops him and takes off his magical linen cloth. That someone is revealed to be none other than the fire user fugitive from earlier, accompanied by another spy conspirator. You see, a few episodes earlier, when everyone was busy preparing to enter the dungeon and things being hectic, the 2 cockroaches were still handcuffed with special power dampeners and unable to escape amid the chaos. That was when their spy accomplice, the one that hired them to get the mirror, made his entrance, freed them, and slipped into the ruins along with the rest. During their chit-chat, the spy leader plan to steal a formation eye for themselves was revealed, as well as the identity of the person that will keep Cheng Bailey off their back and possibly take him out. Anthony Smith is a powerful B-rank awakener who is working on his own and doesn't know that they are entering the dungeon alongside him. Back to the present time. As Cheng Bailey is walking through the ruins, he charges at a hidden underground object using his sword technique. This hidden object was none other than an attack formed by Anthony Smith to ambush him. The impacts of their attacks echoed throughout the entire ruins, and every single unit and camper were aware that something big was taking place. Lu Shu immediately rushed over to the source of those impacts to investigate what was going on. That said, he made a small detour on his way to play with the beasts for a bit. Cheng Bailey and Anthony are still going at each other with killing intent, and with each attack, the impacts of their abilities clashing become even stronger than the one that came before. Finally arriving at the scene of the battle, Lu Shu found a huge crater, and in the middle of it, Cheng Bailey was lying on the ground, tired, injured, and out of stamina. Surprised to see a powerful person like him in such a state, Lu tells him to rest and tend to his wounds, assuring him that Anthony had a far worse injury than he did. However, before he could even recuperate and rest to heal his injuries, Anthony returned to deliver the final blow. But Cheng Bailey used the last ounce of his strength to counter his attack with a powerful energy blast, sending Anthony flying across the distance. Lu Shu then decides to pursue him and put an end to this battle once and for all, despite the old-timers' protests. Taking matters into his own hands, Lu goes all out, and oh boy, what a visual treat that was. I would even dare to say that the whole sequence of the main man powering up, garbing some shit I don't even know from thin air, and doing what I assume was lava bending before turning it to glass after he speaks to Anthony. To put it short, it was peak animation, mob psychotype of peak animation. With the mercenary trapped like a mouse, he realizes it's about time to call it a day. So Anthony attempts to escape using sand tornadoes as a distraction. Little did he know, though, trivial tricks like these are child's play for our broken-as-hell friend. That said, while trying to counter all his attacks, Lu Shu's blade missed some of them, and his back was against the ropes as he was almost pierced if it wasn't for the epiphany he received from the 7th star. Lu Shu then gained yet another magical blade, piercing through all of Anthony's projectiles like butter. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to seal the deal, and Anthony goes on the run yet again. That said, Xiaoyu spots him. The little princess realizes that the man's joy channel has been sealed by Lu Shu and jumps right into action, striking the area in the ground and creating a huge crater. Xiaoyu then calls for her pig to start digging. Once the bore went deep enough, they found the corpse of Anthony with a huge hole in his stomach from the punch earlier. Xiaoyu extracts his recent memories and finds out the location of her brother. Speaking about the devil, Lu travels back to where Cheng Bailey is and finds him meditating. Seeing him in this state, Lu thinks that Cheng Bailey is dead until proven wrong. Cheng Bailey is surprised that the mad lad is still alive and well. The old-timer can't believe his ears when Lu Shu tells him that he beat Anthony into escaping. Lu Shu then used to level up his awakening as an excuse, growing from level E to level C, still buying his bullshit fully. They decide to head over to the center of the ruins and find that Formation I to release everyone in it. During their run, Lu Shu sensed something big, and since the old man had passed out from all the branches he hit on the way, Lu Shu pulled out his new compass and followed it to a small lake where he found the squirrel beefing with a snake over the flowers in the middle of the lake that are releasing a powerful aura. As he withdraws the flowers into his storage box, he can understand just how potent they are. Every single petal is the equivalent of 10 spiritual stones. Soon after, Cheng Bailey wakes up and Lu Shu fears that the old-timer might discover what he just did and demand the fruits for himself. So our boy tries to cover it up by saying that the little rat ate it. But then Cheng Bailey points out that there is supposed to be 2 fruits. Nervous, Lu Shu tells him he ate it. The old man, however, tells him to be at ease as he is not mad about it. Further adding it's not honorable for a leader to steal the things of a student. Seeing no negative feelings coming from the wise sage, Lu Shu concludes he is sincere with his words. And so Lu Shu gives him the fruits, only asking to credit him when making a report about the mission. Right after eating one, an enormous surge of power is seen searing through his body as he draws energy from the plants around him, gaining back the strength he exerted in that battle with Anthony, and even some more. Soon after, Cheng Bailey returns one fruit to Lu Shu as he doesn't need it. Xiaoyu shows up holding Zhu-an on a stick up in the air. The old man, of course, is not okay with seeing his grandson in such a state. Once she puts him down, Zhu-an tells his grandfather the cover-up story he came up with Xiaoyu as to who defeated the B-class strongman Anthony. At that moment, a beacon is lit, signifying that an exploration team has found the center of the ruins. Seeing this, Cheng Bailey sits down to regenerate his power through meditation, while Lu Shu decides to go ahead and explore the area further on his own. His sister interjects and refuses to let him go on his own this time. Spotting the enemy in the distance, Lu Shu heads first to gather information of their numbers and objectives. He then witnesses a member doing some scuff Naruto shit as a sign that he is one of them. Immediately, Lu Shu is reminded of Lily's words about each member's special code and how it is formed of their zodiac and the last 3 digits from their code name. Following this, Lu Shu disguises himself as a member of the Dragnet conspirators and walks out like a goofy-ass side character. He does the hand sign and is allowed to move forward. At the center of the ruins, he is surprised at just how many enemies there are, making him wonder just how in the Lord's name he's going to fight them off. The first group that Lu Shu was with reached the crater and reunited with the rest of their allies. Witnessing the aftermath of Cheng Bailey's battle with Anthony, they divided themselves into groups to gather information and report back. In the meantime, Lu's cover is blown thanks to the 2 clowns recognizing him. As soon as the 3 leaders swarm him with their swords at his throat, he does the hand sign again, saying that he is one of them hiding under the codename Li Li and has important information to relay to their leader. The leader then asks him what kind of information, and Lu Shu says Cheng Bailey died in the battle he had with Anthony, adding that he got rid of his body after throwing it in some pond. The leader of the group is flabbergasted at the news at first and doesn't believe it. However, after Lu Shu gives him a sample of the sand that Anthony uses, it somehow convinces him. Lu Shu's bluff worked like a charm, and he almost became Shenji's boss's right-hand man, upsetting the rest of the lackeys. With that issue solved, the fire user's time is up. He attempts to open the path to the ruins, but it proves to be harder than expected. Suddenly, a spy yells that they have spotted a group approaching them. The group is none other than Lu Shu's classmates. The Shenji conspirators meet them with open arms, giving them a false sense of security in hopes of killing them stealthily, while Lu Shu watches from afar helplessly. Luckily, the squirrel moved his squishy butt swiftly enough to warn Jian at the right moment before Chio Kingchi was decapitated by an attack from behind. The students call to arms and a great fight starts. As usual, Chio Kingchi proves just how powerful and capable she is in attacking the enemies that charge at her, while also keeping an eye on her allies and protecting them. Alas, numbers beat courage, and soon after, the students are cornered from all sides. The cavalry arrive, and by cavalry, I mean Xiaoyu and her army of beasts. Beasts and students fighting side by side gave Liang the opening he needed to charge at their vanguard and leader. Jian immediately covered the distance by passing the enemies in his way and jumped right at Liang in hopes of stopping him from burning down the entrance to the center of the ruins. An exhausted Jian is then saved by Qiao Qingqi. And once they are surrounded, Lu helps them again without anyone noticing him using the gourd. The leader of Shenji, growing weary of waiting, brandishes his powerful magical blade, powers up, and strikes the entrance with a mighty blow, opening the path to the ruins. This monster in form of a man is also a B-class practitioner, which is going to make things even harder for Lu and the company. Moving on, Shenji members leave the students and decide to head further into the dungeon center, claiming its riches and completing the mission they came there for in the first place. Lu Shu hesitantly enters the center, following the leader further in. Meanwhile, Xiaoya breaks the enemy ranks further in hopes of making it up to Lu Shu. That was when the rest of the Qingbeili groups arrived, and it was an all-out battle. The Shinji members attempting to retreat further into the center of the ruins are surrounded, and when Liang Chen forms a wall of fire, one of the teachers charges at it with no care in the world to put an end to this battle. Suddenly, as Liang Chen prepares to burn him to a crisp, Li Dian sprinkles a paralyzing powder on Liang Chen, and he is apprehended once again by Dragnet. In the center of the ruin, one of the upper-class practitioners is grabbed by the vines and killed by it, absorbed into its bulk. I guess not even there you are safe. Shenji members are apprehended, so Qiao Qingqi and the students that are able to fight go further into the center, tracking down the rest of the Shenji leaders. Inside the tree, the students are attacked by its roots from all sides, and they have to fend off those things if they hope to survive the ordeal. As a new enemy emerges, it captures many students, but Qiao Qingqi unleashes her powerful spearman skills, shredding the plant's vines and freeing the captives. This effort was still not enough to defeat the beast. Luckily for them, Xiaoyu came to the rescue, headbutting the beast so hard it revealed its hidden gemstone. Taking no time to hesitate, Qiao Qingqi immediately rushed at the monster, and with one strike, she was able to crack its crystal, destroying the plant monster for good. In the inner sanctum of the ruin, Shenji members are being swallowed up one after another into the tree by its roots. Therefore, the leader orders everyone to regroup at his location, and a member of the group creates a barrier that is supposed to protect them from the monsters. Remembering what happened with Li Li after giving him a dish of stinky tofu, Lu Shu decides to attract those beasts with that same tactic again, breaking the formation of the enemy, but also revealing his true identity in the process. Also, he gained a few negative emotional points off these bastards, so it's a win-win, I say. Now, in the inner core of the tree, the three Shinji leaders stand in front of a gigantic flower that has an eye formation inside its bud. Lu Shu attempts to sneak behind them, but is attacked by their leader and gets surrounded from all sides. In the meantime, Qingbeili is still gathering up enough energy to break through to Class A. It means that support is not coming anytime soon. So let's just hope Lu Shu can hold on long enough. Lu Shu starts the battle by taking out the mirror he got from the Ryu Mountains to blind his enemies long enough to position himself better while fighting three people at once. Using at once all that he has in his arsenal, Lu Shu releases both his swords and launches his spears at Shenji's leader. Alas, they counter all his attacks easily. Cornered, Lu equips his sword in hopes of releasing his Chi-Hai attack on his enemies, an attack that is supposed to pass through their guard and strike its target. This bought Lu Shu enough time for the old man to rise and break through to the next realm, becoming an A-rank practitioner. Consequently, the Guardian of the Ruin finally awakens. So the Shinji leader reveals his last and final trump card as his subordinates sacrifice themselves for him to gain immense power. As it stands now, Lu Shu is in a pickle. He has lost all this spiritual energy, is assaulted by roots from all sides, and is overwhelmed by the beautifully rendered enemy in front of him. And if you think it can't get any worse for our boy, well, hold my like button. As the ethereal form of Shenji's leader was also taking turns beating the living shit out of Lu Shu. Beaten to a pulp, all he could think of was his sister and how to get to her. Likewise, on the other side, Lu Xiaoyu desperately plucked the roots out of the way, trying to open a path to her brother so she could help him somehow. Just when all hope seems to be lost, Eren Yeager finally makes an appearance. To put the power scaling into perspective, the boss that drove Lu Shu to a corner, almost devoured him and beat him senseless, was killed by that guy with a single attack. I kid you not, all it took was a single attack to finish off the Guardian. And then it was time for the conspirator, who also gets defeated pretty easily. The Bud, i.e., the core of the ruin, is taken and the domain is released with everyone in it set free and happily reunited. Qingbeili takes off first to Beijing, promising to record Lu Shu's credit in this expedition himself. After that, Lu Shu reunites with all his friends and has a beautiful emotional reunion with his sister. As they sit down next to the lake, Xiaoyu scrolls through the photos she took inside the dungeon, marking the end of Season 2 and preparing us for the next journey. Until then, we hope to find you here. Take care.